Guys, so today we're talking about 3 critical things that you can do for flat feet or for pronated feet. But before we talk about the solution, let's talk about what causes flat feet to begin with. So the first thing is we have to look at the way that someone developed their postural strategies to stand upright. And that's going to start with the way that you learned how to walk in the early stages of life. Very often, and you might want to ask your mother or your parents, parents will try to get their kids to walk before the age of 12 months old. And that is a great mistake because the lower body is not yet prepared to accommodate the entire weight of the body. Also, our hips are not shaped properly before the age of 12 months old. So it really is important to make sure that children go through that transition period where they learn how to crawl ipsilaterally and contralaterally to eventually stand upright. All of that actually is part of the plan being to activate and light up your entire brain, the connections specifically from your primitive brain to your mature brain. That's what it's all about. So one of the causes for flat feet can be the fact that you walked too early. It may also be that you have retained primitive reflexes like the Babinski reflex. I've done many videos about the Babinski reflex and how to test it if the reflex is either inactive or hyperactive. Then you may have a pronated foot condition, and that really is something. Muscle tone comes from the brain, and if you have proper muscle tone, then you will form an arch. So walking too early, retain primitive reflexes like the Babinski reflex, putting shoes on too early, right? When children or babies are put in kindergarten, they have shoes on their feet, even sometimes before they can even walk. So that can also be a contributor. And arch supports, walking around with anything that supports the arch is the equivalent of walking around with a cast on your arm. If something is supporting your arm, then you're not getting that specific activation to your brain, and the muscle will then become weaker. So wearing arch supports can also cause flat feet, and wearing shoes that are too small, that's just simply going to affect your gait pattern, the way that your toes are moving, and the way you're throughout the gait cycle, the way that you are actually propulsing your body weight forward. So these would be the 5 causes of what causes a pronated foot condition. Now, what you have to know is if your feet are pronated, that is something, although it is true that it could be a congenital condition, whereas you are born with flat feet if you're African American. But keep in mind that flat foot always creates a problem from a biomechanical perspective. So what is it that you can do, or let's talk about 3 things that you can do to actually start stimulating your arch and your feet and ultimately activating your brain. Well, the first thing that you should do immediately as of yesterday is remove any inserts from your shoes. Immediately. Why? Because you want to stimulate your foot. You want your muscles by themselves to be able to start forming that arch. If you start supporting the arch, you're not going to get that stimulation, and that's going to prevent you from developing your arch. Walking barefoot is another great way that you can activate or try to form that arch with doing specific exercises to contract the arch of the foot, and you could repeat this on a daily basis. Keep in mind though that walking barefoot does create calluses, and calluses prevents us from feeling the ground that we walk on. So it's kind of like a catch-22. But as an immediate solution, walking barefoot is a great way to start stimulating your brain and stimulating your foot. And last but not least, I would suggest proprioceptive drills. Why? Because These drills are going to work hand in hand with your stability. And anything that is proprioceptive does activate the brain. So if you are using proprioceptive exercises, or if you do use proprioceptive exercises, you're activating a specific part of your brain called the cerebellum. And the cerebellum has so many functions that are absolutely essential for having healthy posture and global posture. They help with balance, equilibrium, they help with coordination, muscle tone, and motor planning. So by doing something as simple as activating your feet, you're actually having a direct impact on your cerebellum. And part of your cerebellum is also involved in the management of stability and balance. So if you are unbalanced, then your body weight and the way that you position yourself and your acceptance of gravity is going to be affected. So in other words, you're going to waste energy standing upright. And wasting energy standing upright is not a good thing, because it prevents us from using that energy for bodily functions like resting, like secreting hormones, like the buildup of cholesterol, the good cholesterol, and hormone production and general homeostasis. So it's really, really important that heel strike really is important, because it basically shows us that acceptance of gravity. And because we are two-legged creatures, we walk in an upright posture, and our foot has a direct impact on that upright posture. So the 5 critical things that can affect or create a flat foot or pronated condition is walking too early, retained primitive reflexes, wearing shoes that are either too early or small shoes, and the wear of the anything that involves an arch support. Keep in mind that most shoes have a default arch support already that is inserted in your shoe. Anything that is more than 3 millimeters in height is going to create the reverse process. It's actually going to atrophy the muscle instead of stimulating it. So you're going to want to be sure to remove those arch supports. What you can do is remove the shoe inserts from all of your shoes. Simply just take a look at your running shoes. Do it now. Just take your shoes out, and you'll notice that there's an insert with a little arch support. Just toss that. Walk barefoot more often. Stimulate the skin of your foot, and add some proprioceptive drills to your exercises. And on that note, I'm going to wish you a super awesome day. And let me know in the comments below if those exercises did work for you.